Now we're here at the Windsor Star News Cafe, and we are talking politics with Mcarthur, Dylan Kristy, and our special guest, Ward 4 candidate. Stick with me now, Adriano Ciotoli.
That's
Much
right.
better
It's
than
easy.
yesterday. Much better than yesterday.
I absolutely butchered his name yesterday, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, well, that's it exactly. So we have you in today. You're running for the councillor in Ward 4. Alan Halberstad held that seat for a number of years, but he has announced that he's not going to run for re-election. There was actually a debate on Sunday at the Walkerville Brewery. Can you tell us just briefly how that went?
Well, first thing I had to say about the debate was I was so happy to see there was such a great turnout of over 200 people. So it was nice to see that many people are actually engaged in the process and wanting to learn about the candidates that are running for a seat that Halberstad had held for a while.
Yeah.
And there was some great great questions being asked and great responses being given as well. So hopefully I made it a little easier. I'd like to think on some of the residents to be able to choose on who they're wanting, but it's definitely going to be a tough choice for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, exactly. So there's about 200 people there. Holly was there, Milson was there, Halberstadt, the Maverick himself was there, about 200 people. But boom, you made headlines with one of your sort of policy planks that you unveiled. Policing, it's obviously a hot topic. Oh boy, Reed Vander today. But foot patrols in Walkerville and in other wards, talk about that.
Well, I mean, one of the main parts of my platform is about focusing on the neighborhoods and the communities. And the policing is part of that. It's something I've been working on for a while now, not necessarily just about the election, but just researching for my own knowledge. And after I started going door to door, it was a theme with the residents saying it's mostly petty crime. People stealing things from porches, breaking into vehicles, bike thefts, all that stuff, but it affects the quality of life. So I started researching into what difference foot patrols can make. And sure enough, it led me to Victoria, BC, and the police department there who implemented it. But the key part was they implemented it without a tax or without an increase in the police budget. That's the key part. You always want to see an increase in services with a minimal or no increase in the funds being supplied to it as well.
And they did this just by taking people on desk duty and like 2 hours a week you go for a walk. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What they did, they used their on-duty officers and took them out of the vehicles for a few hours a day, put them on the streets, and then supplemented them and supported them with their admin staff for a few hours a day going out onto the street as well. And they said, well, there was that trepidation at first of the staff saying, oh, I might not be able to get my work done, my regular work. They said it ended up being great, not just internally, but also for the reputation of the police department. They said residents were absolutely loving it, and it built up the reputation and the public perception of the Victoria Police Department.
Absolutely.
While at the same time reducing crime.
Oh, for sure. Now, it sounds like most candidates, they do support increased patrol, foot patrol even. Now, it was Craig Pearson who talked to Superintendent Mike Langlois, and he was saying that maybe foot patrol isn't the most, well, not necessarily feasible, but it still makes it difficult to pursue someone that he'd like to see more cruisers maybe patrolling the area at night. What's the response that you've heard from people since you talked about this on Sunday?
Well, I mean, to go back with the other candidates and what they're saying as well, while they're all saying foot patrols as now, there's one candidate in particular, I believe Remy, who said she had it in her platform, but she was only calling for auxiliary police to be on the foot patrol, so that there's a huge difference between a regular police officer.
and guns is pretty much the big difference.
Yeah.
One of the
Absolutely.
Exactly. So I mean that's a big difference right there. But also getting the officers out of the vehicles is the key part of it, because you're getting that hands-on experience of the neighborhood, knowing who's home at what times, who's supposed to be there, who isn't, and actually getting to learn the habits of the neighborhoods themselves and the people of the neighborhoods. And the Police Victoria, or the Victoria Police Department, Constable Russell that I spoke with, said that was the major difference that helped make their pilot program successful, was that actual interaction. So getting them out of the vehicles or having more vehicles on the street, in my opinion, I don't think that'll work as well. Also, by getting them out of the vehicles, there's even the cost savings because you're using the police officers on duty and admin staff on duty. Getting them out of the vehicles, you're probably actually saving some money in terms of the maintenance and the running of the cruisers as well.
Okay, well, money is obviously going to be one of the big knocks against this thing. A Fraser Institute report came out yesterday, said the Windsor CMA, which is pretty much half the world, right? Amherstburg, Lakeshore, LaSalle, Tecumseh, that we have one of the most, according to them, inefficient police services. Just looking at, sort of per capita number of officers compared to population and, crime stats. So money, like, you think we can just pull people from desk duty and pay for this, or are you concerned about that we might be overstaffed on Windsor Police as it is?
Well, I mean, the majority of the study, I mean, it was right, you couldn't compare apples to apples because it was taking the whole CMA.
Right.
There was a couple pages in the study near the end of it that actually compared the city of Windsor and not the CMA to comparable cities like the city of Winnipeg. And I believe with Winnipeg, there was about a $30 difference in terms that Windsor was about $30 more expensive in terms of the cost to run. So while the majority of the study was hard to compare apples to apples, there were some snippets of information there that helped compare it. In regards of whether it be feasible for the bringing desk duty or other officers on, the fact is it's been proven that you can do it without the cost increase. So I mean, it's worth exploring to see if it's possible to be able to take their success and bring it here.
Okay. Yeah. Adriano, you ran last time in 2010. I just did it. You got fourth place, I think.
Fourth place.
With 952 votes.
Yep.
Halberstadt, of course, won that thing in a cakewalk. Mike Burton and Tony Black, were in between. But essentially, in terms of the people who ran last time,
I'm the only one.
You're the only one. And what's different knocking on doors today and knocking on doors in 2010?
Number one, I think just even when I'm heading to the doors themselves, people are recognizing me for the work that I've done in the community since then. There's been a lot of work that I put forward in obviously not just my business, but also just bettering the community. Windsor Eats, that little plug there, thank you. But they're recognizing me. I mean, I sit on the board for the Ontario Culinary Tourism Alliance. I sit on the board for the Southwestern Ontario Tourism Corporation, of which I was the chair-elect. So there are people that are noticing that hard work that I put in and realizing that I'm getting in there hands-on and trying to make a difference as well. Not just during an election time. So I think they're recognizing that. And then, of course, some of the exposure through the business, they're recognizing me through that. But I think a lot of the issues are still the same, unfortunately. People are looking, to lower crime, keep taxes low, and most importantly, they're wanting jobs with their unemployment rate having, creep back up. They're wanting jobs to be able to, to support their family and themselves.
Yeah, and you're even a victim of property crime or theft, I guess, earlier this year.
Yeah.
So you know the issues firsthand, so it's
and that's the thing. It's not like I'm just saying this because I'm hearing. I've been experiencing it myself.
Yeah.
We had 5 bicycles from my business stolen.
Yeah.
That we use for tours. I've had my basement flooded about a month and a half, 2
My
months
basement
ago.
flooded too.
I saw that. Brilliant video, by the way.
Thank you. Facebook. I posted it on Facebook.
But so, I mean, it's not just that I'm talking about these things. I'm experiencing them myself.
For sure.
They're things that I'm having to go through myself, just like all the other residents.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, Adriano, thank you very much for joining us, and good luck on the campaign trail.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Totally.